Adam, you bring up a good point around wearables. So, like, I know, at least in my group of friends, the Whoop, the Aura
Yeah,
Ring, the Apple Watch. We
yeah.
have a ton of data available to us as consumers, but I don't feel there's an easy way to quickly plug that into my healthcare provider's system. Is
Yeah.
that fair? And if so, why is that the case?
Yeah, from what I've seen, I think you're right, right? And we haven't enabled probably the sharing of that as much, albeit I'm not totally sure how many people would want to share it, right? There was an athlete that I know that she wasn't real excited about sometimes how like on point that Whoop was, right? Like she had
Right,
too many cocktails the night before, it
right.
would flatter on her, right? And calling her out. So, some of that is how much can we share? I know there's a couple applications out there, and I'm sure there's more that I just honestly haven't seen that does facilitate it. But I do think as when we look at like the world of insurance, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a heavy drinker, I exercise daily. I'd love for that to start to burn down, how much I'm paying in insurance. I don't know that we're there yet. I think there's enough conversation around it though that there's a real potential there that they can start to take all that wearable data, maybe apply a different insurance premium, but more importantly, tell you like, okay, here's the trajectory of what you're looking for 5, 10 years down the road. You might have a heart condition, or if you continue down this path, here's what might happen to you. And I think that's the real question when we look at some of these things, Manny, is if we know it and AI can predict it, do we change it? Are we going to
Right.
change it? Are we going to really go eat that vegetable instead of the cheeseburger, right? A lot of these things we already know. So are we really going to change it based upon what AI says?
Right. No, that's right. That's always going to be the kind of the question. Ultimately, you'll get recommendations, but you still have to follow them, and that's still going to
Yeah.
be tough, right? Because that burger is very tempting. I have a question here from the chat. Unfortunately, I can't bring it up on the screen, so I'll just read it, Adam. So we have
Yeah.
Aaron asking, Adam, do you see these wearables as partnerships with providers, or more along the lines of going it alone as a supplier as a product offering?
That's a great question.
Great question.
Yeah, I mean I wish I had an easy answer. I'd love to take the easy out and say probably both. I mean, I've seen it applied in two different ways. I've seen some total knee vendors that as you've got an orthopedic implant, they're going to have some sort of tracking and modality with that. One of it comes important when you're doing rehab that you're getting up and moving more quickly. So they're going to track it. They might either give you a Fitbit pre-op or post-op to be able to kind of track that activity. So I could see that from a provider perspective on the Fitbit side, or that wearable that you're going to put on the implant from the vendor side. So I think there's a business case for both. I think it depends on what kind of intervention you've got and what kind of outcome you're trying to drive. So I would say both, but phenomenal question.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be tricky, and there's going to be a real opportunity for the healthcare system that can really integrate all these
Yeah,
different third-party data sources into
yeah,
their system. I'm sure it's going to be hard because you mentioned the regulatory issue, the legal issue, and not to
yeah,
mention the technical part of it. How do you plug in from all these various sources via API data in a secure way that
yeah.
seamlessly plugs into your ERM system and can
Right,
present it to the doctor and to the nurse in the right way. I'm sure there's some privacy things that you want to be concerned about
sure.
there as well. So I think it's going to be a very difficult nut to crack. But that said, I only see wearables becoming a bigger part of everyday
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
Right now, I'm sure it's just like the big time athletes that are wearing the Whoop and all that. But pretty soon it's going to be like pretty 50% of the population that's going to
yeah.
have these wearables. That's going to be very valuable information to any healthcare provider.
Right. Well, and have you seen in the spectrum with wearables? Right, they went from a toy to now people are leveraging them for actual impact. And to Aaron's question, right, that change is I think we're starting to trust them. We think that they are deriving the right output. Right, you can actually monitor your heart rhythms and stuff with it. They're not just telling you to stand up because you've been sitting for 30 minutes or whatever. So I think that trust in them is going to come up. I just want to call out though, you did say the S word in healthcare. Seamlessly is the right is the S word. nothing is seamless, right? You just want to plug some application in. It's never going to happen. You've got EHR, physician groups, they're all doing different things, right? Then you've got a vendor that's going to try and port into the data. There's a real challenge there with quote unquote seamless integration. Not as I think it could be. And then you've got cloud-based. Cloud's got to be secured because you can't have, that data leak out of the cloud.